Thank you for joining me for another video from Grow and Give, a modern victory garden project brought to you by CSU Extension. Grow and Give videos will help you learn to grow food, share the harvest, and keep it local. In this video about berries for the Colorado garden, we're going to learn about currants, gooseberries, and jostaberries, or the ribes species. The following video is an excerpt from a live webinar on growing small fruits in Colorado. You can find the full webinar on the Grow and Give website. So these are going to be things like currants, gooseberries, and jostaberries. They're actually woody perennial shrubs that can get anywhere from 3 to 6 feet in height and width. Most of these are going to be what we call self-fruitful. So unlike the blueberries I just mentioned, where you have to have two different varieties to get good pollination, you don't need that with these types. You can actually get good pollination from even the same plant, the same bush. So you don't need those multiple varieties, which is great. Also, currants are easily grown at higher elevations, so all the way up to 10,000 feet. So if you're up there in the mountains, you probably see a lot of these growing around you in nature anyway. And so just know that that's a great environment for them. So give these a shot. So let's start with the black currants. These are really great for jellies and pastries, and they're very high in vitamin C. And so some good varieties of black currants are Allegan, which is in the picture here, Ben Nevis, Broadtop, Consort, and Crusader, all good black currant varieties. There's also red currants. These are going to be a little bit more tart, and so they're better suited for jellies. Red currant jelly, I'm kind of weird, is like one of my favorite kinds of jellies, and it's so hard to find. They quit selling it at my local grocery store. I now have to order it online. So if you want to start a business growing red currants, I don't know, I would certainly buy them. All right, so some good red currant varieties for here in Colorado. Probably the most popular type that we see grown are the Red Lake, and they have kind of a mild flavor. Then we have Wilder, which is another good type for Colorado. These are going to have larger clusters than the Red Lake, but overall, again, also very tart. But there's cherry red currants, Perfection, and several others that you can grow as well. We also have white currants, and so on the list here prior, white grape and white imperial, these actually fall into the white currant group. These are the sweetest of the currants, great for fresh eating. Not to be mistaken with golden currants or clove currants. Those are kind of a whole different thing. White currants are actually red currants that were selected out for a more pale color. So really pretty as well. So also in this ribes species group, we have gooseberries. These are also going to be self-fruitful. There are two different types. We have European types and American types. The European types are susceptible to powdery mildew. The American types probably grow better here, and so I would recommend those. And they're going to be a little bit more tart. The difference between gooseberries and currants, gooseberries are going to be a lot bigger in size, so up to a ½ inch, whereas those currants are pretty tiny, maybe the tip of a pencil eraser. Also, the gooseberries, if I didn't say it already, are born singly on the stem, whereas the currants are more born in clusters. Gooseberries and currants can both tolerate really poor soils, which is, again, great. That's why they're so easily grown here in Colorado, because, we have poor soil. But yeah, so try out some gooseberries as well. Here's some cultivars that do well in our state. So Comanche, Hinnomaki Yellow, Welcome, Hinnomaki Red, Invicta, and Pixwell are all good acceptable varieties. The Pixwell that you see in the picture, those are about ½ inch size berries that start out kind of that light green, and they mature to a nice soft pink color. The Welcome that's on the list, those are going to be a little sweeter, darker, and they're going to have less thorns than this Pixwell variety. So that makes those, the welcome, a little bit easier to pick. Maybe that's why they called them welcome, like welcome, come harvest me. The Hinnomaki red, those are going to be small dark red berries. They have a pretty good flavor. And then the Invicta are a little different. Those have pear-shaped berries, and it's reported that they have excellent flavor. I have not tried the Invicta. Ones that you want to stay away from are the Downing and the Colossal. And then in this group of plants, we have the Jostaberries. And so these are actually a hybrid of gooseberry and black currants. They're nearly black in color, larger berries. And so with the Jostaberries, unlike the currants and the gooseberries, they actually do better with fruit production if you plant both the black types and the red types. So they like that cross-pollination. You want to harvest these when they're fully colored, when they have a nice soft texture, and that goes for all of these in this ribes family. So as far as planting these types of small fruits, you want to plant these in early spring. Make sure you give them some space. They're going to need about 3.5 to 4.5 feet between plants. Loosen the soil. It's just going to help them establish a little bit better. So loose soil is great. I would stay away from really hard compacted clay type soils, although I say they can do well in poor soils. I don't think very many plants at all can do well in compacted soils. So again, you might want to loosen that soil up just a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, they do really well at higher elevations. And so they actually prefer full sun at higher elevations. But because it gets so hot down here along the Front Range, you can grow these in part shade, and that'll help keep them a little happier. So at elevation, full sun's okay, but down here on the Front Range, if you're down here, yeah, give them a little bit of shade. They're very hardy, some of these to zone 3. You want to head back the branches when you plant these things to 5 inches, and that's going to help. You're just going to leave a few buds back. That's going to help you get a bush style or habit to that plant. And just know that some of these also have ornamental qualities. So this is a great opportunity to kind of mix in your edible plants and with your ornamental plants into your landscape. So you don't have to have a currant bed, a currant bush bed, or a gooseberry bed. You can mix these in with your landscape. As far as pruning goes, just to touch on this, you want to prune these in late winter, early spring, like all the rest of these fruits we've mentioned today, prior to those buds swelling. I always like to say with your fruit, with your woody plants, you always want to prune them, except for those that are flowering shrubs that flower in the early spring. Everything else, you want to prune it while it's asleep. It's kind of like having surgery. You don't want to have surgery while you're awake. Plants don't want to be pruned while they're awake, so do it when they're sleeping. Again, there are exceptions to that. So prune them in late winter, early spring, prior to those buds swelling. You want to prune back some of this wood because these bear fruit on old wood that's usually 2 to 3 years old. So you want to remove the wood that's more than 3 years old and then thin out some of that younger wood. So if you look at the picture here, you can see some numbers on these stems, and that's telling you the age of that stem. So we've got 3 one-year-old stems, 3 two-year-old stems, and then 3 that are 3 years old. So that's just one way for you to kind of think about how to prune these and get the maximum fruit production. Gooseberries are going to be a little bit different with those. You want to leave more of the 1-year canes that come up, because on gooseberries, the 1-year canes are pretty fruitful. And so leave more that are young. If you prune these right and you keep these bushes healthy, they can remain productive for up to 20 years and give you pretty good yields. CSU Extension has some great resources to help you grow small fruits in Colorado. Be sure to check out our Master Gardener webpage. There you'll find lots of information about many different types of small fruits all in one place. Also look for our Plant Talk articles. These are short and to the point. We also offer CSU Extension fact sheets, which are going to give you just a little bit more information. And if you really want to take a deep dive into growing small fruits, check out our Master Gardener Garden Notes. Thank you for joining me for this video. If you have more questions, contact your local CSU Extension office or check out our website at extension.colostate.edu.